I'm Wade Crowfoot, our California Natural Resources Secretary, here with Chief Joe Tyler, who leads CAL FIRE. Now, Chief Tyler and I check in on a bi-weekly basis, and today when we talked, we were remarking on some of the developments that we're seeing this year as CAL FIRE is across our state protecting communities and fighting wildfires. And we thought we'd bring some of those observations to you. So Chief Tyler, we're in mid-October. We've experienced a fairly moderate wildfire season. A lot of reasons for that. One, I hope, or I've observed, is increased response capacity. That means more boots on the ground in many parts of the state and more assets, including helicopters, to support the firefight. Can you talk about what's been sort of brought to the challenge this year and how it's impacted your ability to fight fires?
It really has been a moderated fire season and has allowed us to do a lot of great work when not responding to emergencies. But through administration's investments to CAL FIRE, we've been able to add personnel and add exclusive use helicopters. And these exclusive use helicopters are carrying 2,000 to 3,000 gallons of water, being able to get over an incident in a short amount of time with our agency aircraft to be able to support the women and men that are on the ground fighting these fires and trying to mitigate them. It has really been a game changer this year to be able to have those investments and burning less than 366,000 acres compared to 2.5 million acres last year and 4.3 the year before. It is a great opportunity this year.
Well, that's remarkable. I think about it as being able to flood the zone with more of those helicopters, more people to keep these small fires from growing large and catastrophic. In addition to the response capacity, there's been a lot of work up front, far before wildfires start, to create fuel breaks, to reduce vegetation, to help keep those small fires small. And as I understand it, some of that work is actually shaping how wildfires have moved this summer. Can you talk about what we're seeing on the ground with some of those forest resilience projects?
Absolutely, Wade. So when our personnel are not responding to emergencies and mitigating large and damaging wildfires, I expect them to be out there doing fuels reduction and hazard mitigation, and really working towards that forest health and forest resilience efforts that we're seeing across the state. So the women and men at CAL FIRE are constantly out there doing fuels reduction projects, removing vegetation, ingress and egress for evacuation zones, and building fuel breaks in which allow not to necessarily stop a fire, but slow a fire's spread so those ground resources and those aviation resources can come in and slow that spread and mitigate that fire.
And we're seeing this actually impact certain fires across the state. Is that right? Like I had heard that there's some early on work up in Yosemite that impacted, protected the sequoias. Can you just give a couple of examples of where this seems to be paying off some?
We really saw some major effects, and the first place we saw it was in January on the Colorado fire in Monterey County, where that fire hit the Pala Colorado fuel break, and it really slowed that fire for the ground resources to get in. But as you said, the Washburn fire in Yosemite, forest health dollars and grant dollars were invested there to help protect those giant sequoias. Likewise, in the North State, in the Wairika area, the McKinney fire that occurred this year came up against the Craigie fuel break that has been an interagency project that was able to slow that spread. And then two others of significance, the Electra fire that burned right on the Amador and Calaveras County lines, burned up against the Pine Acres fuel break that slowed the spread and allowed the crews to get in there. But the most amazing one is a small fire that really got no attention, and that was the Oak fire that occurred in Placer County this year, where a spot fire on a 20-acre fire, an ember, was landed nearly a mile away, right on the edge of the North Fork of the American River. And when it landed in a fuel break that the Nevada-Yuba Placer unit had put in, that fire smoldered until resources could get in there and mitigate that spot fire. Had that spot landed in the North Fork or in the drainage, it would have been much like the mosquito fire this year.
Well, that's so good to hear, because as you know, we have several hundred more projects across the state in progress now. Again, thanks to that historic funding from our governor and our legislature, and that these fuel breaks pay off toward reducing catastrophic wildfire risk. Now, Joe, temperatures are cooling over many parts of the state, and we're obviously still very concerned about the Santa Ana winds in Southern California. We have thousands of firefighters remaining vigilant out there, but we're seeing more prescribed fire on the ground. Every time we meet, you identify for me where prescribed fire is happening, thanks to CAL FIRE and its partners. And this last update, you provided a long list of where we're doing prescribed fire. Now, you and others helped create this prescribed fire action plan, which among other things focuses CAL FIRE on achieving 50,000 acres of prescribed fire each year, starting in 2025. How's this prescribed fire movement going, and what are you seeing on the ground?
The resources out in the field, the units, are doing a great job. The prescribed fire efforts are occurring across the state. Now, as you said, we are not out of the woods yet. Temperatures are cooler, but we haven't seen a lot of precipitation across the state. So we are still in fire season, or what we refer to as a fire year as well, and people need to be vigilant about that as we continue. We still respond to initial attack fires every day, but we're taking a lot of great opportunities to do that prescribed fire work. Just yesterday, and I think today as well, in Tehama County, burning hazardous fuels west of Red Bluff, and then along Lake Oroville at Loafer Creek. But it's occurring across the state. Monterey County, Amador and El Dorado counties. We're seeing it in Tulare County. We're seeing it in San Mateo, Santa Cruz. They are finding windows of opportunity where the conditions are just right under a managed setting to be able to do the great work of prescribed fire. Now, lastly, I'll talk about our cooperators as well. Between the Humboldt Del Norte unit and the Siskiyou unit, they're supporting Trex Burns. Trex Burns are working with our cultural and tribal partners, practitioners, to do prescribed fire efforts in the Klamath area of California as well.
Well, Chief Tyler, thank you and the thousands of firefighters that are on the front lines across California as we talk, from CAL FIRE, from the U.S. Forest Service, from our local mutual aid providers, keeping our communities safe. Now, look, we all have a role to play addressing the wildfire challenge. If you live in an area that's prone to wildfire, maintain defensible space, harden your home, have that evacuation plan, and listen to our fire authorities when they tell your community to evacuate. Now, this wildfire crisis that's driven by hotter temperatures and climate change remains severe. It's an effort that takes everyone across California, and we'll continue to make progress together.